cEDH in the end is a very healthy format where a lot of commanders are actually quite viable. However, there are a few commanders I really wish were better, commanders that I wish I could bring to some cEDH pods. So this is my top 10 list of commanders that I wish were better. So first thing first, I would like to mention that I've played a bunch of these commanders or played against them and basically figured out what the problem is, and we're gonna talk about each individual problem inside the video, but also talk a little bit about what they could need to become better. I would also like to mention that all of the commanders we're gonna look at are very close. They're in like a casual competitive or high power level, so to say. First one out, Oscar Rubbish Reclaimer. And well, the name says rubbish, but he's not rubbish. He's actually pretty decent, and I gave him a very high review when I made a card review from this, and I played a bunch of games with Oscar. I really like this commander. It's a very unique commander, basically giving all of your cards madness. And that absolutely becomes insane when you combine it with something like Bazaar of Baghdad. But that's basically where the good parts about him stops. Or well, not all through is actually pretty amazing with Necropotence, and I think the way to go forward with Oscar is to play Turbo Necro. With this he actually looks pretty hot. You can basically one card tutor for Necropotence, get your Oscar into play, pay 37 life or as much as you can, draw a whole bunch of cards, go to your end step and discard everything, and once again he turns everything into madness, so you can just cast most of the stuff. I've tried that a little bit too, and it also struggles. Everything with Oscar sounds easy in paper, but when you do it in practice, it's a little bit of a setup, more than you think. What would make him good is more versions of Bazaar of Baghdad, or similar strong effects like Bazaar of Baghdad. Fibblethip! So he absolutely has something going for him. With a Proteus staff you can basically doomsday your entire deck, and that is good. It's an artifact, so that's blue, you can tutor for this artifact, not that hard to achieve. So how it works is to cast this mono blue homunculus, then use your staff targeting the homunculus, it goes into your library, and you start to reveal cards until you reveal a creature which doesn't exist inside the deck. So you go through the entire deck until you hit Fibblethip in the bottom, you put him into play, but then, before anything else happens, you could rearrange your entire library however you want, and then Fibblethip will trigger and draw cards. The sad truth is that the other commanders that are doing the exact same but better, either with more color identities, or they have a better thing going for them besides this. Because in the end, Fibblethip is not that good. He's very cool though, and I really like the meme thing here, because we are sending him into the library, he's getting lost, and then he yeah, it's cool. He needs more colors, or he needs something more besides his little cool combo trick to be good. Most in Magic is very serious, and it's very cool to have something inside a pod, inside a competitive game that is just different. Number 8, Tefasa the Sunlit, an enchantment stacks Bunt commander. So we don't have that many enchantment commanders. Now, you're gonna say, Third Enchanter, that's an enchantment cEDH viable commander. No, he's not really an enchantment commander, he's a Necropotence commander. Tefasa the Sunlit, that's a heavy focused enchantment commander. Now, Tefasa the Sunlit actually kinda works. It's kinda getting there, the stacks is there, the card draw is there, everything there, but how do you win? So I've actually played a lot of Tefasa the Sunlit, I really like her, but I often struggle with just sitting there and durdling into something. Now eventually sometimes you get there, but the win con needs to be better here. This is a problem I actually talked about in a previous video, a tutorial about how to build stack sticks. And Tefasa basically struggles with what this video is talking about. Number 7, Grixis Yoliva. So she used to be quite decent, but then Kess came, another Grixis commander came, and Yoliva dropped in popularity. Now a lot of people really hate Yoliva because she's destroying their decks and such. I think she's bringing a really cool gimmick to the game that's quite unique. For example, I really like how Ragavan can accidentally interact with opponents by exiling their combo cards. Now, milling is close to the worst thing you could absolutely do because you're feeding people's Underworld Breach, potentially. However, Yoliva is removing cards from the game permanently, or well, exile isn't really permanently in Magic, but kinda permanently. And Yoliva's little gimmick is personally something I would like to see more of inside this metagame. She can be very scary versus decks that are relying on only one card, and if that card goes, they can't win. And if Yoliva would be a little bit more active in the metagame, then those decks would be a little bit risky. Shun Lee countless kicks blue and white Azorius. So we don't have that many blue and white cEDH commanders in the metagame, and Shun Lee is doing something quite unique a lot of other commanders don't really do. She has some similarities with Grixis Kess. You wanna put instant sorcerers into your graveyard and then you wanna cast them from the graveyard of sorts. So I've played a bunch with Shun Lee as the commander and she's really fun. She's doing a cool, unique thing. Her playstyle is interesting. But she always falls apart. There are so many stacks cards in this game that just destroys her completely. They're very common too. She dies to Daffy Voidwalker, really common card. She dies to Draenei Magistrate, also a really common card. She also dies to Rule of Law, or no, she doesn't really die to Rule of Law, but her game plan becomes really bad. I also don't think this is fixable, like the cards they just showcase you, and by the way, they are won't really go away from the metagame, so I don't see a world where Shun Lee countless kicks is gonna do anything, sadly. Number 5, Grenzo Rakdos Dungeon Warden. Now, I actually do think he will work in the future. Grenzo transforms Doomsday into a really interesting one-card combo, but he also has a really interesting and fun game plan where you just sit and activate Grenzo and hope for the best. I often play a lot of complicated commanders that demand a lot of thinking, and Grenzo is a relaxing way of just sitting there and activating Grenzo, not thinking that much and just see what happens. If you like loot boxes, you're gonna like Grenzo. But he struggles with the fact that his creatures, his hate bears, or the things he can pull out from his magical deck aren't that amazing. It's Rakdos, so there's a limit to how good they are. But I think this can change drastically. We've seen cards like Oppo Agent and Daffy Voidwalker. We just need more things in this kind of power level. And from Red we've gotten things like Ragavan, so I think Grenzo has a potential in the future. We have another Rakdos commander, Magar of the Magic Strings, and wow, do I think he's cool, and wow, do I think he's bad. So I played him and he doesn't work at all. The cEDH, like the same thing with other commanders, he just runs into various things that shuts him down and he can't do his thing. All of my games with him, he's been like, oh okay, I can kinda win now. But there's this random thing across the table that interacts with it, and then over there's another thing that also interacts with it. His way of winning is just accidentally interacted with by various ways. And similar to Shun Lee, the things that interact with Magar are just accidentally very popular inside the metagame. So simply put, I don't think Magar, similar to Shun Lee, will ever be good. Like, the cards that make them bad will never go away. And I think it's a little bit sad because Magar is really unique. I did enjoy almost getting to play him. The 5-color identity Ramos, the Dragon Engine. So he's just straight up bad, he's too expensive and his thing is one turn use only. If it was, you could do it several times over and over at the same turn, that could be very interesting. I think his power level would grow to a balanced level, honestly. I honestly don't think he would be busted or OP, I just think he would be okay. And it would be cool with a 5-color identity commander that had a Storm game plan. As a brewer myself, he's also a really challenge to build and an enjoyment to build as well, because you want to include cards with as much colors on them as possible. We mostly value commanders with a combo potential on them, or a card draw value engine on them, or a form of interaction. We also value mana capabilities on commanders as well, and this commander has a 5-color identity with a huge mana ability. And I think this machine would bring a flexible change compared to what you usually see. Number 2, Yogmot Fran Physician. So he's actually pretty decent. All around he is like kinda getting in there. But it's not like over the top, he's not like, whoa, Yogmot, such a cool, effective cEDH commander. Far from it, he's like, yeah, he could do something, but nah, not enough. And this is Yogmot we're talking about, guys. This is the big boss. Emrakul, guys? No way. Yogmot, that's the biggest boss in the game. Or used to be. When I grew up, Yogmot was the biggest villain inside the entire game. When he enters, he should instill fear into his enemies just because of his name. Now, he's probably good in other formats I don't really know. And I guess there's a risk we might accidentally make him OP. But I really wish this guy was par on the cEDH master race of evil villains and evil cards that would be dominant inside the format. In the end, the wish that I have for this card to be great inside cEDH is just because of, I guess, nostalgia. Now, in competitive Magic, you should always play things that are viable to that power level in that environment, and Yogmot isn't. But I wish he was, just because it's Yogmot, guys. It's Yogmot we're talking about. He should be a boogeyman of the format, because in the end, back in the days, he was the boogeyman. Alright, so number 1 might come as a surprise to a lot of you. Pashliak Mons? Why do you want that one to be cEDH viable? Well, easy. A lot of you might know that that's my name. Alright, so it's not actually 100% correct. This is actually how my name is written. And you pronounce this Mons Predelius. Yeah, good luck, have fun saying that, but I've changed the name into Mons that you see written up there, because just to help people actually pronounce it. And I mean, I'm the cEDH TV guy, and I have a card inside a format that's casual power level. We could have had so many competitive gameplay videos where Mons is playing Mons. I don't like mono red in particular, I don't like goblins in particular, but I kinda like this card just because that's my name. I own the card, and like, I've had plans to build a casual deck around it just because I probably should. Now, the number 1 spot basically became, and number 2 pretty much as well, but the number 1 and number 2 were my personal opinions of things that personally affects me. But I honestly couldn't resist that, throwing them in there. Well, that was my little list of things I wish would be. But I have a feeling there's a lot more commanders out there that could be very interesting for the format if they were viable. And it is a goal to struggle towards, because the more commanders that are more viable, the healthier the format is. That's it for me for this time. Take care, guys, and I'll see you next time.